Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Friday, July 31st, 2020, and wow, we are almost in August. If you haven't heard today, there was a new poll released from the Massachusetts Democratic primary. I will be covering that race in the next, maybe another video, obviously before the primary actually occurs on the 4th, but I think that will be a very good primary to watch. It's between incumbent Senator Ed Markey and Representative Joe Kennedy III. If you remember him, I believe he gave the response to the State of the Union for the first time in 2017. A lot of people put out his name as a presidential hopeful in the future, and now it looks like he's running for the United States Senate, so he could very well be ousted out of the Senate and possibly even the House if a popular incumbent comes in, but or someone who takes over the position and becomes a popular incumbent. However, there definitely is a lot more pathways to a political future for someone with the last name Kennedy, especially in Massachusetts. So as we look at this this map, we're talking about something completely different than that primary. I just saw it on Real Clear Politics, and everyone was hyped to see the release data, and Ed Markey, I think, is ahead by 3% statewide, so we'll talk about that later on. But today's video is about donations and about where Trump and Biden are getting most of their money from and what that actually means on this nationwide map. So they actually have some states, 5 battleground states, that we are going to discuss in terms of donors. Now, I don't think donations really are the best indicator of who's going to win the presidential election. Obviously, a vote is a vote. A donation comes from a lot of people. A donation actually only has around 3 million donors across both campaigns, less than that, 2.8 million, but they do give you a general indication of where Biden's money's coming from, and so is Donald Trump's. So if you look around, there's obviously some red hotspots, some blue hotspots. Pretty much, they do this by zip code. Essentially, they've divided up the entire American electorate and decided to put them aside by zip code and discuss who's donating by what margin and which candidate has more donors. So obviously, if you see in the Northeast, a lot of blue pockets, especially in the wealthier areas, around the entire Northeast. Extremely wealthy, and a lot of donations for Donald Trump. I would say Donald Trump doesn't exactly have the entire region of a country locked down. There are still some red pockets or some blue pockets in Georgia, down in Florida, some parts of Texas. These are very small zip codes because this is very densely populated areas. Colorado, California. So Trump is getting a lot of his money from obviously battleground states and also some outlying states as well, safe Republican states that have a lot of money. For Biden, he's getting it mainly from safe Democratic states and obviously some swing states. But if we're looking at where a lot of his money is coming from, it's definitely coming from the Northeast and the West Coast. Outside of that, yes, there are pockets in Georgia and, this part of Illinois and this part of North Carolina and this region of Colorado. But I will say that Biden's campaign is likely funded by the rich Democrats. A lot of those rich Democrats in Northern Virginia, around the D.C. area, is a perfect example, which is fine. Obviously, money is money for the Biden campaign. But let's go ahead and take a look at these 5 battleground states. I'm not actually going to do an electoral map about the donations yet. I'll probably do that later on if they have a little bit more updated data. I think the last time this was updated was on the 24th. So if they come out with numbers in August, I will make that into a presidential election map. But looking at Pennsylvania, Biden has 66,000 estimated donors and Trump has 45,000. Well, if you look at where Trump is getting a significant portion of his donations, it's from all of these outlying counties. Now, a lot of them are very small in population. That's why you don't see them as, shaded in as they might be. And if we're looking across outside of this entire area, that's pretty much red because Trump leads in every other area except for densely populated areas. Philadelphia, the huge region for Vice President Biden. I mean, we're seeing donations in the hundreds for him. 462 here, 229 for Trump. Then you go over to some of these Trump areas, less than 5 for Biden, 14 for Trump. It's still a red zip code, but it doesn't really mean much if it's not that many donors. They don't have data for every part of the state, but I will say that Biden leading Trump in donors probably isn't too good of an indicator for a presidential election victory in this state in November. However, it is cool to note. I think that just looking at this data is very interesting. I'm not going to draw too many conclusions from it because it really doesn't matter. At the end of the day, Biden is probably going to pull ahead in Pennsylvania based off the data we have right now. And obviously that comes on the backs of donors who are giving him money to campaign and send ads into the state. But just looking at the overall donation map, I don't think this is a clear indicator as to who will win each individual state. In Florida, Trump tops Biden in terms of the amount of donations here by 15,000 estimated donors. Again, if you look around Tallahassee, Biden's getting his voters here. And then if you look at the panhandle of Florida, Trump's doing well there. If you look at pretty much actually everywhere outside of the major cities, Trump is doing pretty well. Orlando, a lot of donors for Biden here, but then the rest of the state is Republican. West Palm Beach and Miami, again, a lot of Biden support here. Tampa, a lot of Biden support here. But then the rest of the country, or the rest of the state, Florida's kind of its own little country, but the rest of the state, Florida, has Trump donors all across. By pretty substantial margins. In Wisconsin, 21,000 estimated donors for Biden, 17,000 for Donald Trump. Again, seeing the same type of trend that we see across almost all of the other states. Big cities, a lot of Biden donors. The rest of the state, a lot of Trump voters. And unfortunately, for a lot of these Trump voters, a lot of the times, not only in Wisconsin, but in a number of other states, these big cities tend to sway the entire electorate in one way or another. Keep in mind, Hillary Clinton, I think, got maybe 6-7 counties in Wisconsin in 2016. And she ended up, coming very close to winning that state, only losing it by 22,000 votes. So counties don't really matter. Zip codes don't really matter. These donations are all just showing us where the money is coming from, and it pretty much correlates with exactly what we've been thinking. The big cities, pretty much Democratic strongholds. The rest of the states, well, Republicans are doing a little bit better. But if you look at some of these zip codes, Biden's actually doing pretty well. He's still ahead, maybe in like a fourth of the zip codes that we see. But then if you look at the major cities, that's probably where he's getting a lot of his money from. But there's only, combined 40,000 donors in this state. So there shouldn't be too many pockets of solid color. Now in Arizona, Trump has 41,000 estimated donors and Biden has 33,000. Again, if we're looking, Phoenix, actually on the outskirts and the suburbs around the cities, Trump seems to be doing better in terms of donors. If we're looking at obviously right into the city, Biden should be doing a little bit better than Donald Trump in terms of estimated donors. Overall, we're seeing a lot of red in this state. However, the numbers don't necessarily correlate that Trump is dominating Biden in terms of fundraising numbers. It's roughly the same margin that we see in other swing states for Biden or Trump over one another. But Trump is doing pretty well in Arizona, I will say, in terms of fundraising. But the only thing that really matters is the vote on Election Day, and it looks like he is trailing Vice President Biden in that state. Arizona is actually interesting because Trump definitely needs a lot of money spent on Arizona. If we're looking at the electoral map, like I said yesterday, Trump is withdrawing ads in the state of Michigan for right now, halting new ads. And yes, they have around $12 million that is reserved for Michigan, but there's nothing saying they have to keep that money in Michigan. We're seeing a lot of Republican operatives saying Trump is going to start to focus on Iowa and Ohio and Arizona and Texas and Georgia, states that went to President Trump that really should not be swing states this time around based off their margin 4 years ago. So that's something that you need to note. The money that is used in other states could very well be redirected into states such as Arizona, where we're not seeing as many donors for its population that these states really should be seeing. In North Carolina, 46,000 estimated donors for Vice President Biden. Trump has 36,000. Again, same exact thing. The entire state's red. Again, it looks a little bit white just because there isn't too many donors there. That's a 15-point margin there, but that should be solid red just given the ratio. Pretty much 2-1 for Trump to Biden. But then if we look around the major cities, a lot of blue, huge pockets of blue. Raleigh, North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina, Asheville, North Carolina. Looking around, again, a lot of red and then blue hotspots that pretty much fund the Biden campaign, not just here, but nationwide. We see that trend all around. So they actually have the entire list of where Trump has more estimated donors and where Biden has more estimated donors. I don't think most of these states are too surprising. California, New York, Massachusetts, Maryland, Washington, Illinois, New Jersey. Pennsylvania is the only swing state that, or Pennsylvania, Virginia are the only swing states up on this list where Biden has a 20,000 or more donor lead in that state. Then we go down to Colorado, 11,000, 10,000 in Minnesota, 10,000 in North Carolina, 5,000 in Maine, 4,000 in Wisconsin, 4,000 in Ohio, 3,000 in New Hampshire, 3,000 in Michigan, 3,000 in New Mexico, and surprisingly 2,000 in Iowa and 1,000 in Georgia. For Trump, well, let's go ahead and see. If we're looking at swing states, let's disregard all the rest of the states. Texas is a swing state, Trump plus 30,000. Florida, Trump plus 15,000. Arizona, Trump plus 8,000. Moving past this, let's look for another swing state. Nevada, Trump plus 4,000. That's pretty surprising. And another swing state, are there any other ones? No. Okay. So it looks like Biden's doing better in the swing states that we pretty much focus on throughout the election. I'm going to, again, make that electoral college map based off these donors, but probably once they update the information, possibly because this is through June, so they might be able to do it through July once we hit August, and then we'll go ahead and see. But this definitely takes a lot of time if they're dividing it up by zip code. I think they're doing this that way people can go ahead and find their zip code and see what their area is. I know what my zip code's composition is, but I'm not going to tell you guys my zip code, obviously. But looking at this overall map again, pretty much matches up exactly what we're thinking. Cities fund the big campaigns. Biden and Trump, this probably won't matter. I don't think that this donation map is going to directly correlate to what we see in November, but it's just always interesting looking at data and looking at where both of the campaigns are getting a lot of their money from. If we look across the country, it seems that Trump is getting a lot of money from specifically small Republican counties, just spread out, or not counties, zip codes spread out across the country, and it looks like Biden's getting a lot of his money from urbanized areas, big cities, New York City, Baltimore, DC, California, pretty much is not really one big city, but a lot of money there, and there's too many cities to count for where Biden is doing really well. So pretty much matches up with exactly what we've been thinking. No real importance of this map other than that it shows that number one, Biden does have more donors than Donald Trump, but I think they're about to roughly estimate. Sorry, not roughly estimate. I don't know what I was saying. I completely lost track. No, I know what I was saying. Okay. I think that they probably are going to fundraise the same amount. Biden has been slightly out fundraising Donald Trump, but they both are doing considerably better than where they were in 2016 for the Democrats and the Republicans. I think Hillary Clinton's most money raised in a single month was $67 million, and I think Biden topped that last month in May or June with $131 million. So this campaign is nothing like 2016, and we're seeing a lot more money poured into it than we saw in the past. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to comment down suggestions below. Subscribe on the left if you haven't already, and check out the Instagram and Twitter on your screen. In the bottom left, there's also a Discord server. That link, if you just go ahead and pop it into your browser, it'll bring you the Discord invitation. I don't know why my words are slurring today. But there should be a video that you can go ahead and watch, and then a playlist for my 2020 election predictions. Again, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all later today.